Hey, it's Matty P, and I've got 8 kilos worth of Dungeon Master screens right here, okay, and we're going to review them. So each screen is going to get 5 points, right? That's the maximum best screen can get, 5 points. They're going to get 1 point for the art on the front. If we look at the art and go, oh, that's competent, that's confident, that's beautiful, that's nice, we're going to give it a point. That's an easy get. And then for each screen, each panel on the inside, they're going to get 1 potential point. Now, the thing is that I'm looking for on these panels, not something necessarily that I would want in a Dungeon Master screen, because everyone's going to have different needs. I'm just trying to imagine, is there any Dungeon Master out there that could possibly use the information on each of these panels? And I'm going to give deductions if there's like useless graphics or information that isn't relevant to a Dungeon Master, or especially, hey, you're going to learn this real quick. I hate seeing maps on Dungeon Master screens. But for now, let's crack on with it. This is the Eberron screen. This is to do with the Eberron campaign setting. On the first panel, we have this image of like people riding dinosaurs wearing skulls. That's pretty cool. Then on the center panel, we have this ship and this fight happening with Warforged. And then on the last panel, we have this kind of magical lightning steam engine and all these pedestrians that don't seem to care for some reason. On the first panel inside the Eberron screen, we have a list of names. They don't have numbers next to the names. If I see a random list here, I would like to be able to roll and determine a name. That would be fun. We have information on the second panel for the different faction called Dragon Marks and their houses. But this third panel, what's this? Hey, this is a map. I don't feel good about maps because the font on this map is so tiny that if you were an optometrist and you had like the chart going down, hey, can you read this? Can you read that? If they got to a font this small, that patient would die and that optometrist would go to prison. The last panel is information about the deities and various services around Eberron. So that's 4 points total for the Eberron screen. On the Icewind Dale screen, I don't know a lot about this setting, but on the first panel, we have some elk that have like axes as their horns. That's pretty cool. Then we have an image of like an owlbear person. I think this is Auril, the Frostmaiden right there. Then there's a skull. I have no idea what this is, but I like the look of it. And on the last panel is an undead ghostly frost giant. Very cute. I love the fact that all of these are in this blue palette. It's a very homogeneous screen and it's thematically strong. This is very good art. Of course it gets a point. Let's check the inside. On the inside in the first panel, we have a list of random encounters. This is great, but then we have a bunch of custom information about wilderness survival in the frost, extreme cold, frigid water, slippery ice, thin ice. Second panel, we have a bunch of tall tales about the 10 Towns, which is where this adventure is set. Fourth panel, we have a list of houses, much like the previous screen. But the last panel, this bit here, this is what lets this down. This is almost a 5 out of 5 screen. It is all about one dungeon. Now, the left side of this panel is just a bloody map. I don't like that. Even if it's a dungeon map, I don't like it. The second half, though, this is useful. This is a bunch of hauntings information for this dungeon. I like that, so it gets half a point for that. This is a 4.5 screen. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Here is a very rare screen. This is the screen that you get from the deluxe edition, the limited set edition of the rules expansion gift set. Golly, that's a lot of words, but check out how good this looks. On the first panel, there are these 2 characters, leaping off there, and you can see it's got this holographic feel across the whole thing. Then we have a beautiful piece of art of Tasha casting a spell. On the third panel is Xanathar and Orcus, the Lord of Undeath. Look at him. The Lord of Undeath right there, right before your eyes. And the last panel, there's a mind flayer, a kobold, and some kind of creature that I don't know exactly what this is. This person with the rib cage, I don't know who that's meant to be. But the holographic feel of this, like look when I shine this past the light. It's really pretty. It's very cool looking. Let's take a look inside. Now, interior, this is the exact same as the reincarnated panel. So this screen is going to get the same marking, the same ranking as the reincarnated panel. So on the first panel, we have a bunch of information that is useful to players. Here's how to search and move and cast a spell and dash. This isn't relevant to Dungeon Masters. It doesn't belong on a DM screen. The second panel and the third panel have the conditions spread across each panel, which is silly because they can fit it all on one panel if they need to. They're just being greedy for space. So overall, this is going to end up with 3.5, right? Because one of the half of the panels inside are kind of wasted as far as layout goes. But here's something really interesting about that gift set. There are 2 versions of that screen, because you might recognize what I'm holding here. This is the screen you get in the Essentials kit, and it's flimsy and it's cardboard. Listen to the sound. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a screen. A DM screen shouldn't make a sound, right? But the thing is, in the non-deluxe version of that rules expansion gift set, this is the screen you get, but in a hardcover version. I don't have it, but the art that's on here is beautiful. You've got a depiction of a party come across the left with a beautiful kind of dark green tone to it. And they're all walking and they stumble upon, in the middle panels, a bunch of orcs against an apricot and peach colored sky. And then on the last panel, there's a white dragon yelling at the sky. I just knocked over my drink. But then, in the interior, it is the exact same as the reincarnated screen once again. On this smaller version, it's actually kind of better than the reincarnated screen because they don't have as much space, so they do the correct thing and cram all the conditions into one panel. So, in a really kind of strange turn of events, like the ranking of this flimsy version is 4 out of 5, but I'm presuming the ranking of the actual proper hard cardboard version, which will be more greedy with the space that it takes up, that'll probably be 3.5 out of 5. So let's knock it down to 3.5. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Let's take a look. So, on the cover, we have on the first panel, we have a red tiefling reaching into a statue of a frog's mouth. That's fun. Then we have a rabbit folk person kind of leaping towards the center. Right in the center, we have that cover depiction of the people from the Witchlight Carnival. And we have the title. I love seeing those title cards, that text right at the front. That's fun. Then we have a massive spider, which I do not enjoy looking at. And then right at the end on the last panel is a night hag. Looks pretty cool. One thing I want to mention about this screen is they've got this white trim all along the bottom. I like that. I think it looks really nice, just seeing that smoky feeling creeping up along the entire composition. But hey, let's take a look at the inside now. Now, what I like about this is if you read this panel from left to right, you're going to see a real kind of chronology of the adventure. On the very first panel, you can see it's got information about the Witchlight Carnival, the scenes, the games, the prizes, and this is one of the first things that happens in the adventure. On the second panel, you got information about different locations, hither, thither, and on the third panel, yon. Now this is the progression that the party's going to take through the adventure. But of course you can see we've got these maps up here. What's with these maps? Like even these maps are tinier than any others. Like I can't read these at all. I don't think there's any text on these at all. It's just wasted space. So unfortunately for these middle 2 panels, I'm just going to give them half a point each because half the space is taken by useless maps. And then on the last panel, we have this information about something that I don't know what it is. Prismere. Is this another location? But this Prismere location, we have rules of conduct, the rules of 8 and 3, we have foraging in Prismere, we have transforming this domain, we have a bunch of campaign relevant information, which I particularly like. So for this panel, I'm going to give it a ranking of 4 out of 5. It only lost a half a point for each of those middle panels. On the Spelljammer screen, you can see we've got some Spelljammer ships, sliding towards the center on the first panel, which is nice. On the second panel, we can see the screaming face of what looks to be a dead astral dreadnought. Terrifying, bald like me. I know the struggle, buddy. I know the struggle. On the third panel, we have some flying dragons. I haven't read the Spelljammer books yet, so I don't know what these things are called. And the last panel, we have some floating obelisks in the sky. I do like the homogeny of this panel, like the color, this kind of violet mauve thing going on. I like that. And hey, I don't want to get you too excited, but I just want to let you know there are no maps in this screen. This is going to be good. In the very first panel, we can see information about setting DCs basic information for DMs, but then also campaign specific stuff about here's how the astral planes are laid out, here's how gravity works on a ship, here's how suffocating and weightlessness works. And then on the second panel, there's a bunch of information about random encounters, third panel, random encounters, and the fourth panel, a bunch of random tables you can roll for shipboard tasks, for ship quirks, for ship cargo, and then expensive cargo. It's a bunch of campaign relevant information. Buddy, this is a perfect Dungeon Masters screen. Optimal art, optimal layout on the inside. Congratulations, Wizards of the Toast. You did it. Here's a weird one. This is the Dungeon Survival Kit. It's a specialized little kit you get that comes with a screen and a bunch of cards. Now, on the screen, on the first panel, is just a very kind of like Lord of the Rings style melon door. You know, it's very dark in here. On the second panel, we're going to see a dragon statue with a bunch of mushrooms. On the third panel, there's a bunch of heroes outside this cavern and a bunch of hook horrors rushing towards that entrance. And then on the very last panel, we can see a blue dragon. The thing that really gets me about this is that it's quite a dark composition. Like you can probably see even in this bright light, it looks quite muddy, doesn't it? I don't know. I feel like this is too dark for me, but we still give the point to it. It's very competently done. Let's take a look at the inside. On the inside, oh wow, who would have thought? It's the exact same as the reincarnated screen. So of course this is going to get the same ranking, it uses the same information, and it wastes the same space. 3.5 points for that one. Next. And here's a really surprising contender. This is the revamped screen for Coast Strahd, because the first DM screen they released for this campaign sucked incredibly, which is so weird that it's the best module and it had the worst DM screen, but they re-released it with a bunch of sensitivity fixes and this new screen. Let's check it out. On the very first panel, we have Castle Ravenloft and the haunted carriage leaving it. Then on the second panel, we have this evil windmill where the hags reside. On the third panel, that is an image of Kresk, the walled city. And on the last panel, we have the 2 ghost children outside of Death House. Very cool. I like that on the art here, it has this kind of trim, this beautiful filigree on the outside of each of them. I think it looks really nice, and the style of this is just quite beautiful. Then on the inside, I thought that this might just be the reincarnated screen again on the inside, but it is campaign specific. On the very first panel, they have information about random encounters and then some obscure rules for concentration and long jumping and suffocating, all that kind of stuff. That's handy to have. They do have the problem of having the middle 2 panels be conditions spread over 2 panels rather than 1. We've already proven these can fit on 1 panel. Just cram them in there. Give me more relevant information, please. Then on the last panel, it's generic information about travel stuff, which is useful in Barovia because it is a little bit of a hex crawl. But then right here in the bottom right, we have information about common names in Barovia. This is very good. With the exception of the condition situation, this is almost perfect. It's a 4.5 out of 5. But here is a surprise contender. Now this is a third-party DM screen called the GM Companion by Dragon Shield, and they are a sponsor, so by default they get ranked a sponsor out of 5. Let's check it out because this is genuinely the screen that I use every game at my table. Here it is. It is black, it is plain, it is non-distracting, and that's the kind of minimalist attitude that I appreciate at my table. We do have these etchings of a dragon, some dice, and a wizard, but my favorite feature is actually up here at the top. Now you see, right up here, I've got these cards. What's up with this? There's a slot along the entire screen for inserting little cards. It comes with dry erase markers and these white cards that you can write your players' names on or illustrate things on, but it also fits the official D&D monster cards. But the thing is, on the inside, you can see there's space for putting your own inserts, right? You can put, player names in this one, you could put random encounters in the middle, and you can put whatever you want in the third. There's space in these little slots for putting your phone, for controlling your music. It's a really customizable solution. Gift giving season's coming up. Give this a look. check out the link downstairs. It's by Dragon Shield. It's called the GM Companion. And you can also find it in your local game store. We're going to be doing a full review of this, a dedicated review of all the features and functions of it in the next video. But for now, I just wanted to share it. Oh my goodness, that was a lot of screens, wasn't it? Hey, all of these patrons down here made this possible. I couldn't afford to buy these lights, these cameras, these screens without supporter patrons like all these legendary people down here. I did miss one screen. I missed the, what was it? The Wilderness Survival screen. It's because I thought I'd bought it. Instead, I accidentally bought 2 Eberron screens accidentally. So that'll be in the next DM screen review compilation. But for now, please check out the sponsor Dragon Shield and the GM Companion. Thank you very much. Click subscribe, and I'll see you all later.